What's up? It's your boy, Heaven Hollywood, and welcome to another edition of Industry Stories. And this industry story, being that we're dealing with these two again this morning, let's just go over everything that led up to this point. This is the truth about the Drake and Charlamagne the God beef. Now, a lot of people just really got familiar with these two during the Meek Mill's Drake beef situation. That was back in what, 2016? I think Back to Back came out. And when Drake said in that record, "You gonna make me buy bottles for Charlamagne," he was saying that because basically trying to tell Meek Mills that he's gonna make him do things and act out of character. And buying bottles for Charlamagne and being cool with him was something would be out of character because those two had never liked each other. I mean, it goes back to when Drake really first dropped and started becoming popular. Charlamagne always had something to say about Drake. He's always had insults. He's the one who coined the phrase, there's three type of genders: gay, straight, and Drake. Right? So, and then Drake did the interview and called Charlamagne a nerd and said, there's guys, I turn on Power 105 and I hear these guys talking about I'm gay and this, that, and the third. I just think they're losers and what have you. Now, Charlamagne continued to torment Drake and insult him no matter how many great things Drake was doing. Charlamagne would insult him. He did come out and say on a Vlad TV interview years ago that he loves when Drake raps and he thinks Drake is a dope rapper. But he hates when Drake sings and he thinks Drake is a corny guy. Now, during that time, Charlamagne was going out to a show. There was one night where Drake was showing up at events outside of New York that he heard that Charlamagne was going to be at. And one night, I don't know whether it was in Houston, I don't remember where it was, but Charlamagne had an event. And Drake showed up there with some of his people. And according to sources, he was going to press Charlamagne that night. But Charlamagne left allegedly when he heard Drake was coming to with his people. Right? Now, he kept it pretty much a media based thing until Back to Back when Drake sends him the bottles. Now Charlamagne acts like a trick and says, me and Drake are friends, because he sent him a bottle and said, "Let's be friends." I don't know whether he signed at Aubrey or whether he signed at Drake, whatever. And then he pretty much used Charlamagne to help him win that battle in the eye of public perception, because Charlamagne then just did a total 180 and started backing Drake and was saying that Back to Back was one of the 5 best diss records ever. Saying Meek didn't have no answer for Drake. Meek didn't answer Drake back. And so all of a sudden, because of that, Charlamagne started defending Drake. He then met up with Drake. He said he went backstage and met up with Drake backstage. We're going to let you hear a clip of these things after I talk, just in case they get dinged, and I can always take them out of the video. He said that him and Drake met up backstage. And he said there was a bunch of candles and it was dark and it was a lit room and this, that, and the third. So he made that comment. He was still riding for Drake. Then Angela Yee ran into Drake and she sat down with him, and I think she was trying to get him on the Breakfast Club. I don't know what those two had planned on doing, But whatever it was, according to what people told me, Drake was going to take down Angela Yee, right? And then Angela Yee pretty much showed her hand with Drake and said she wanted to give him on an interview. Drake pretty much said he was never coming to Power 105 because, number one, Wayne don't really mess with them. Nicki don't really mess with them. At the time he said, and me and that guy, he said some things about me in the past. Now Drake is going back to the beef with him and Charlamagne. Now that he done won the beef with Meek Mill, now he said, "Oh, that guy said some things about me in the past that I'm probably never going to come up there and do an interview. Maybe if you leave those guys, then maybe." But he kind of got up and got turned off by Angela Yee at that moment. So I don't know whether Angela Yee, there was some rumors that Angela Yee, performed oral sex on Drake. And then there was some rumors that at that moment they was about to get to it. And Drake was like, you know what? I don't even want to be bothered. She's got an ulterior motive. She's trying to get an interview with me. And, she just turned me off by mentioning an interview and Charlamagne, this and the third. So what happened is they never got the interview with Drake. I feel as though Drake used Charlamagne for what he could, and then once that was over, he went back to, you know what, I'm never would really mess with him. Now, as far as this thing goes, remember a couple of years ago in 2021, Charlamagne made a comment that we're no longer in the Drake era. I feel as though we're in the Lil Baby era. That proved not to be true because Drake went number one after that comment, and Lil Baby has not been number one since. So it may be the Charlamagne jinx. So now we fast forward to this issue. Charlamagne had some comments about Drake and SZA's record. So we're going to go to the comments and then I'm going to react to it as we are watching what Charlamagne is saying.
You talked to your friend today, Charlamagne?
What do you mean?
Drake.
No.
Drake?
What happened?
Well, okay, so this morning, Drake was a little bit upset about some things that you had to say.
Drake put out a song last Friday, and nobody cared. What was the song? The Drake and SZA record. It came out last Friday, and people just started talking about the lyrics yesterday. I'm in the group chat, and I'm like, damn, Drake put out this record Friday, and people just get into the lyrics on a Monday? I mean, that's not Drake. Like, he's gonna...
And I'm going to tell you something. I agree with what Charlamagne said there. That record came out Friday and nobody is talking about it. So I don't see any issue with what he said there. Charlamagne is a media personality. So far, I don't have any issue in that. Judging from what he's seen, and me and myself as well, I don't see anybody talk about that record. That record was very underwhelming, in my opinion.
It'll be fine, regardless. I just think that, it's also, you look at the album cover and you hear the...
And he did say he's going to be fine.
Title for All My Dogs. I think we was looking for something a little bit more harder.
Okay.
I totally agree. For My Dogs, I've already said, if you're talking about For My Dogs, most of the Drake fans, most of the Drake male fans, they like the more harder Drake. I know some female fans that like the harder Drake. But when you're saying For My Dogs, that makes it seem like it's a record catered more to your male audience. And most of your male audience like when you rap. So again, I also don't have an issue with that.
So after these comments, and I will say I do agree with the fact that the song came and went, and the biggest point of it was the Halle Berry situation.
Mm-hmm.
Another good point by that person. Remember, this Slime You Out had a Halle Berry, the effect of the Halle Berry situation. Right? You have to remember that. The effect of the Halle Berry situation. Drake put out the Slime You Out record, and he had Halle Berry's picture on it. Now remember, Halle Berry said she revealed that Drake asked her, could he use the picture, and she said no. Remember that. She said no. So that also played a part in it.
Is a little bit upset about some things that you had to say.
Drake put out a song last Friday, and nobody cared. What was the song? The Drake and SZA record. It came out last Friday, and people just started talking about the lyrics yesterday. I'm in the group chat, and I'm like, damn, Drake put out this record Friday, and people just get into the lyrics on a Monday? I mean, that's not Drake. Like, he's gonna be fine regardless. I just think that, it's also, you look at the album cover and you hear the title For All My Dogs. I think we was looking for something a little bit more harder.
Okay, so after these comments, and I will say I do agree with the fact that the song came and went, and the biggest point of it was the Halle Berry situation.
Mm-hmm. It's
Drake,
going to debut at #1, they saying, though.
It's Drake, of course. So after this, Drake went to his Insta story. He posted a few things. So he posted some photos of you, and then he actually removed it, but I screenshotted it. He posted a message. He said, are you okay, Leonard? You're kind of Leonard, sorry. You're kind of weirding me out, G. Like, you really obsessed with me or something for years. Like you look in the mirror and wish you saw my reflection. Whatever you gotta do to let it out. I'm sure all 435 of your loyal fans will stand by you. You effing goof.
And then he called me off-brand Mars Chestnut.
He did.
I agree with that.
And he put the picture of you with the sweater where you're like really trying to channel it in. Like you were trying hard.
I agree with that. Definitely.
You definitely had a Morris Chestnut move.
I want to tell y'all something, but you're not going to believe me because I'm lying. But Drake and I plan this out every time he drops an album.
Okay, so that I don't agree with. I think, again, once again, he's lying. Drake does not like Charlamagne. He's not going to forget. Drake's a Scorpio. He's not going to, just because he's going to manipulate and use Charlamagne for what he can, which he did with the Meek Mill's beef. But he's not going to forget those things that Charlamagne said in the beginning, which was really unwarranted criticism. Oh, you gay, straight, and Drake, and Charlamagne admitted that he used to just hate on Drake for fun because it was funny. Well, it wasn't funny to Drake. So the response you're getting back is still build up really from back then, because in Drake's mind, Charlamagne said some things that he's never going to forgive or forget. Or maybe if he had forgiven, he's not going to forget. Here is my final take on it. I don't think that what Charlamagne said about this record, I don't think it warranted all the personal shots from Drake. Because it's not like Charlamagne came out taking personal shots at Drake. However, he used to. And Drake felt as though that was unwarranted. So this is probably, if I'm looking at it from a Scorpio point of view, he's probably saying, you know what? I'm going to give him personal shots when it's not warranted. Because he gave me personal shots when it's not warranted. And one thing about Scorpios, we hold grudges. We may not show it the whole entire time. And we might, even be cordial when we see you. But in the back of our head, we're saying we're always going to have smoke for that person. So I can see, where this is coming from. Remember, he was going to have Charlamagne dealt with years ago. It got to that point. It got that serious. So I think that Drake is Drake is being sensitive about the music, because maybe Drake is starting to feel as though, you know what? It ain't the same. You can sense when your popularity ain't the same. And remember, he came out, he done painted the fingernails, he's wearing barrettes in his hair, looking like he trying to be Yachty. That's Yachty style. So Drake, because he's been hanging around Lil Yachty, maybe he's now trying to take on Lil Yachty's persona. And he feels as though that is not going according to plan. Because I even heard that. Industry people, I talk to industry people every day. And they're saying that Drake is a little surprised that his new persona was not really resonating. A lot of people were saying, what are you doing? And that he thought that they were just going to take to it. Now, of course, his loyal core fans are gonna agree with everything he does. But from what I'm hearing, women included, a lot of these women was turned off by his new persona. So maybe Drake is feeling, so I'm not even going to say maybe, I'm hearing, allegedly, that he's feeling as though this album has to, he needs this album to go over very well in the public eye. And Charlamagne is a big voice, and by Charlamagne saying nobody's talking about the album, it kind of, devalues the album, because he does have million, regardless of Drake saying 343 fans, Charlamagne has millions of listeners. All right, and millions of followers, so he's pretty influential, especially in the culture. So Drake probably feels as though that is going to, have some people look into it like, oh man, listen to Charlamagne and not even listen to the record. So that's what all this is about. Don't let anybody else tell you anything different. It has nothing to do with what Charlamagne said about the record. Drake is feeling the pressure on this record. It has to come off good. And he don't want people like Charlamagne, who has a voice, to put in people's heads that nobody's talking about his record. And on top of that, all of the old stuff, too. My opinion, I agree with Charlamagne. I think the record's trash. Let me know what you think down below. It's your boy Heaven Hollywood. There's been Industry Stories.